According to the HRSA, more than 130 people a day die from opioid related drug overdoses. We see it on network news all the time. But here in Florida, there has been some hope. Opioid overdose deaths in Florida were down nearly 10% in the first half of 2023. So joining me to discuss this is Mike McCormick, Media Relations and Education Coordinator for the Florida Poison Information Center. Mike, good to see you again.
Hey, Dan, it's great to see you.
You know, we go back a bit, he and I, again. So thanks for being here. Florida experienced a 7% decrease in total drug-related deaths, a 10% decrease in deaths caused by fentanyl, and a 10% decrease in opioid-caused deaths. That data comes from the recently released 2023 Florida Medical Examiner's interim report. One of the main reasons credited for the drop is the wide availability of a reversal medication, naloxone. You've probably heard it by the name of Narcan, and literally, here's a box of it right there, and here is the applicator, if you're watching online, that literally is a one-shot, anybody-can-do-it deal. So yesterday was National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day. August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day. Why are these days important is like the question that maybe we should all know the answer to, but Mike, talk about it.
Well, you know, what's crazy when you start to talk about the number of overdoses is that it's the equivalent when we look at total overdose deaths of more than a 747 crashing in this country every single day. When you take the total number of overdose deaths, which exceed 100,000 in this country, and you start to look at other things like murder and car accidents, when you put those together, they don't equal what's going on in the overdose situation. Since 2015, when we really saw this start exploding, it was about 45,000 deaths a year back in 2015. It's just unbelievable when you look at the significance of it. And, you know, there was a study that just came out that said 1 in 3 Americans are directly tied to a loss from the overdose epidemic. It's one of the biggest problems that we're facing as a country. What is exciting is that when we got this medical examiner interim report for 2023, and please understand this, the data way lags because the toxicology tests take time to run. So we're always 12 to 18 months almost behind on getting the data for where we are. But we have finally seen after years, 2015, 2016, rising all the way through 2023, we are seeing that we've hit maybe a top and we might be on the way back down. We're cautiously optimistic at this point because the numbers are still so high and we need to keep people aware. And again, one of the main reasons is the availability of Narcan. And it's not just that it's available over the counter because it still costs $50. There's also plenty of community groups that are giving it away. But the reality is, if we have this out there, it is so fast and easy to reverse an overdose. And if we can get an overdose reversed, it's an opportunity for us to get that person into treatment so maybe that they can beat this troubling disease of substance use disorder.
And you know, many people joke that everything I know I've seen on TV. Well, this has been a major news cycle story for years. There hardly goes a week where you don't turn on and see a grieving parent who wishes, last week in fact, who wishes that the place where their child had been, their adult child had been, had this. And the one other point that I remember is that you could give this to anybody at any time, regardless. By mistake, oops, no ill effects to a Narcan shot. It's not deleterious to you, but its response is immediate, and every rescue unit that I'm aware of has a supply of those. But still, if it takes 10 minutes for the rescue unit to get there versus the one that you might have at your house, those 10 minutes might be the difference, right?
Oh, that's exactly it. To your first point, you could give it to me right now. It's not going to hurt me. It is that safe for anybody to use. Rescue units bring it, and they're going to inject it into you when they measure it out. But the way an opioid overdose works is you have these opioid receptors in your brain. And anytime you have pain, those receptors start sending a signal to your body. Why opioids are a good pain-relieving medication is they fill some of those receptors and tell your brain, hey, everything's okay, you don't need to feel pain. The problem is when we get to illicit opioids, they fill too many receptors. And it tells the part of your brain that tells you to breathe, hey, everything's so cool, you don't need to breathe. So people actually die just because they stop breathing. And so if you think about it, your brain can only go so long without oxygen. So that 10 minutes to get a rescue unit there can be too long.
And again, 10 minutes is a good time. I
Terrific.
live near a rescue unit, and it's a matter of timing and traffic, etc. And of course, if a person is using some kind of illicit drug, they don't know if there's fentanyl in there, which then proceeds to add to, I guess, the effect on your system that they don't know about. And it's too late by the time it starts taking effect. So the numbers show that Florida is a leader in this fight. You and I have talked about this officially, unofficially. I've talked to your predecessors at the Poison Control Center. Much of the credit is to the drop is being given to this medication. So is it out there enough? Does everybody who needs to know about Narcan know about it and put it in their house?
To the first question, does everybody know about it? The answer is no.
Mm.
I talk to people on a regular basis. I'm out and about. I think part of it is that there's a stigma. People think it's not going to happen to me. It doesn't happen in my neighborhood. But you can pull up the reports from HIDTA, the High Intensity Drug Task Force, and just let's talk about just Duval County right now. We have overdoses in every single zip code. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how big your house is, where you live in town. This drug does not discriminate.
Quickly, what symptoms should we look for if in case our loved one is possibly going into an overdose?
You're first looking for they're not breathing. You can usually see that with maybe blue around the lips or blue under the fingernails. Sometimes you'll hear a gurgling sound in the throat. They call it that the death rattle. And if you do come across somebody that's doing that, it's very simple to administer this. We want you to lay them down flat so their airway is open, stick this into their nose and squirt. Pull it out, roll them on their side, very important, and call 911.
Gotcha. And how does poison control fit into this fight right now? And what can you do? What are some of the numbers you can put out?
We do a couple of different things. One, a big part of my job is prevention to work so that we don't even need to use the Narcan. It's education to make sure people are aware of it. Our toxicologists take calls from the rescue units. We take calls from the hospitals. We work on dosing when we get them in to make sure. Because the other thing with Narcan is some of the fentanyl and stuff today, you could give a squirt of Narcan. It's only good for about 30 minutes. The fentanyl is actually stronger than that, and the person can go back into overdose. So we work on that. The poison control number is available to anybody all the time, 1-800-222-1222. It's fast, it's free. And it's completely confidential. And that's something that we really want to stress. It's completely confidential.
All right. Poison Control, Mike McCormick, spokesperson and education. Thank you for being here. Up next.